A red-haired man in questionable floral pants squats unhappily in a vegetable field. He sweats, realizing his cushy life has taken a seriously wrong turn. A hoe slams into the earth, a perfect symbol of his utter frustration. His face twists in disgust, forced to pull weeds like a common peasant. He stands up, clutching his back while lamenting his kidnapping to the countryside. Deciding he's had enough, he throws the tool down, ready to accept any punishment for his rebellion. His head whips around as a distant voice calls out for the young master. He's met with a bizarre spectacle of a runaway lawnmower causing absolute mayhem. A girl is sent flying from the out-of-control machine, desperately trying to warn someone. The man just stares, completely baffled by the ridiculous chaos erupting in front of him. He screams in agony, realizing this whole nightmare began because of one tiny, insignificant bean. The scene flashes back 2 days, shifting from the quiet countryside to the bustling city. A voice pierces his slumber, calling out his name, Jang Tae-ho. An older woman barges in, furious at him for lazing around in bed all day. He sits up in a daze, only for her to notice something unusual about his face. A closer look reveals a fresh bandage plastered across his nose, hinting at a recent scuffle. He tries to hide his shame under the covers, but she rips the blanket away, demanding answers. Her patience completely shatters, her expression turning thunderous at his defiance. But then, her explosive anger softens into a look of sudden, worried realization. He nervously touches his injured nose as she finally questions him about the damage. She connects the dots about his early return, making him visibly nervous. She grabs him in a panic, fearing he's fallen back into his old troublemaking ways. Her worry instantly turns to fury as he disrespectfully tries to ignore her. He peeks back from his room with a smirk, casually denying he was in a fight. Now dressed for the day, he insists he just fell, a lie that's clearly not convincing. He then announces he'll be home late again, completely ignoring her worried questions. She calls out one last time about food, but he coldly dismisses her motherly concern. Left alone, she can't shake the feeling that her son is once again up to no good. She relays her worries to a man at the dinner table, admitting she doesn't believe Tae-ho's story. The woman grips her head in frustration, while the man calmly tries to dismiss her fears. She laments Tae-ho's behavior, wishing he was more like his well-behaved, award-winning brother. Her husband's train of thought is interrupted by a perfectly timed phone call. He stares at the screen, surprised to see the name Jang Tae-ho pop up. Answering with a friendly demeanor, he casually inquires about the reason for the call. The conversation quickly turns to Tae-ho's school break, planting a seed for a new plan. He explains his son's stubbornness, suggesting the caller might need to take matters into their own hands. With a firm press of his thumb, he ends the call, his decision now set in stone. His wife, looking suspicious, immediately demands to know what was said. He turns to her with a confident smirk, announcing their son is being shipped off to the countryside. The scene cuts back to Tae-ho, who is completely stunned by this sudden turn of events. The story shifts to Namcheon Industrial High School, the source of Tae-ho's troubles. A student sighs in annoyance while scrolling through his phone, a cigarette dangling from his lips. This is Kim Jae-hyun, a culinary student with a bad attitude complaining about a video. His friend questions his critique, but Jae-hyun boasts he's a better fighter than the person on screen. The friend teases him for his newfound boxing ego, but Jae-hyun brings up his victory over Jang Tae-ho. His friend downplays the scuffle, but Jae-hyun insists he held back to avoid seriously injuring Tae-ho. Just then, Tae-ho himself arrives, bandaged nose and all, demanding they move from his spot. Jae-hyun seizes the opportunity to mock Tae-ho, sarcastically asking about his injured nose. Tae-ho's face contorts with rage as Jae-hyun relentlessly taunts him for showing up after their fight. Getting uncomfortably close, Jae-hyun flicks his cigarette at Tae-ho, daring him to react. Tae-ho swiftly clamps his hand over Jae-hyun's mouth, cutting off his taunts mid-sentence. He twists his rival's face with a menacing grip, his expression promising serious consequences. With a chilling smirk, he explains the only reason he's held back is for financial reasons. Jae-hyun's eyes widen in sheer terror, finally understanding the threat of expensive hospital bills. Just as Tae-ho issues his final warning, a sharp voice from the classroom door shatters the tension. Their homeroom teacher stands there, his face a mask of stern disapproval at the scene. Startled by the interruption, Tae-ho lets go, his surprise causing him to drop his lollipop. The entire class watches the drama unfold, their murmurs filling the otherwise silent room. The teacher confronts Tae-ho directly, demanding an explanation for his actions in front of everyone. In a private discussion, the teacher reveals he knows all about the fight and that Jae-hyun caused Tae-ho's injury. The teacher lectures Tae-ho, telling him it's time to leave his childish behavior in the past. Later that night, Tae-ho leans against a wall, stewing in his frustration. He clutches his head in annoyance, cursing Jae-hyun for deliberately trying to provoke him. Feeling overwhelmed, he complains that everyone from his mother to his teacher is nagging him. To escape it all, he decides to blow off some steam at a PC bang. But his walk is cut short when a group of men in black suits approaches him from behind. The imposing leader steps forward, formally asking if he is young master Jang Tae-ho. Tae-ho turns around, confused by the title but confirming his identity. The men explain they were sent by his aunt and have been ordered to bring him with them. He's completely bewildered, questioning why an aunt he barely remembers would send intimidating tattooed men to find him. He mistakenly assumes these intimidating men are connected to his rival, Kim Jae-hyun. He recalls Jae-hyun bragging about his gangster brother, finding it pathetic to call them over a schoolyard scuffle. Realizing the men aren't here for a friendly chat, he prepares for the worst. His hand clenches into a tight fist as he makes a split-second decision. Deciding flight is better than fight, he bolts down the street shouting they've got the wrong guy. The leader furiously points, ordering his subordinates to chase him down. A desperate chase ensues as Tae-ho sprints through the back alleys with the men in hot pursuit. He glances back, focusing all his energy into a powerful burst of speed. A confident smirk spreads across his face as he believes he's fast enough to outrun them. His escape plan comes to a screeching halt as a massive truck blocks his path in the narrow alley. He glares back, his cocky escape plan completely foiled by the dead end. One of the men leaps through the air, determined to subdue the young master with a flying tackle. The impact slams him hard against the pavement, knocking the wind right out of him. Pinned to the ground, Tae-ho is finally captured, his desperate chase coming to an abrupt end. The tackler breathes a sigh of relief, while his colleagues are stunned that he actually knocked Tae-ho out cold. Another man panics, holding the now bloodied and unconscious Tae-ho, fearing they've gone too far. The group frets over his condition as the tackler awkwardly explains he was just trying to stop him. Their leader sees this as a perfect opportunity, deciding it's much easier to transport him while he's unconscious. Tae-ho's hand lies limp on the ground, a silent symbol of his complete and utter defeat. He drifts in and out of awareness, faintly realizing he's being taken somewhere before darkness consumes him. His consciousness plummets into a black and white void as the world fades to black. Tae-ho jolts awake with a panicked gasp, his eyes flying open in sheer terror. He scrambles into a sitting position, looking around frantically in a state of utter confusion. Taking in his surroundings, he realizes he's in a simple, unfamiliar bedroom. The room suddenly seems familiar. It's his grandmother's house, but he has no clue how he got there. His bewildered thoughts are cut short by the cold press of a toy gun against his head. He turns to see a small girl with pigtails and menacingly glowing eyes questioning his identity. She holds her aim steady, a sweet yet sinister smile playing on her lips. Tae-ho stares back, completely baffled by this strange girl who has appeared out of nowhere. Standing on his bed, she repeats her question, leaving him to deal with the most bizarre wake-up call of his life. Tae-ho cautiously confirms his identity, demanding to know who this strange girl is. She introduces herself with a sweet smile, her name being MUDEUNGGAK. This 7-year-old cousin then boldly declares that starting today she's his new boss. He dismisses her as completely nuts, utterly baffled by the absurd situation. Her cheerful demeanor instantly vanishes, her face darkening at his disrespectful tone. A sudden jolt snaps his head to the side, a clear and painful warning. He feels the cold press of the toy gun against his head, her expression now deadly serious. With a sinister grin, she challenges him to mock her authority again. His bandage starts bleeding as sheer terror grips him, questioning if the weapon is actually real. Overwhelmed with panic, he makes a desperate headfirst dive for the door to escape. His mad dash for freedom is cut short as he runs straight into his grandmother. She questions his frantic behavior, completely unaware of the tiny tyrant holding him hostage. He desperately points at the girl, accusing her of acting like a deranged gangster. His grandmother calmly reveals the tiny terror is actually his cousin, Jua. A memory flashes back 6 years, showing him meeting the girl when she was just a newborn baby. Back in the present, his grandmother scolds him for not recognizing his own cousin after skipping so many family events. The realization hits him as he grabs his head, completely baffled as to how he was even brought here. Jua steps forward, casually announcing she had him kidnapped to be her new subordinate. She explains that as the heir to her mother's business, it's time to build her own crew. Tae-ho is left speechless, wondering if his 7-year-old cousin is just playing some kind of bizarre mafia game. His thoughts are shattered by a sudden, jarring phone call. His hand trembles as he sees the caller as none other than his older brother. He's reminded of his desperate pleas for his mom to save him as he was being hauled away. His older brother is on the other end, a smug grin on his face as he taunts Tae-ho. While petting his villainous-looking cat, his brother explains Tae-ho's mission is to babysit their cousin. He's instructed to take good care of the little tyrant, who clearly enjoys her newfound power. His brother hangs up, hoping this forced babysitting gig will finally whip Tae-ho into shape. It all clicks into place, revealing the family-wide conspiracy behind his kidnapping. With Jua's parents away on business, the family saw the perfect opportunity to pawn her off on him. His own parents sealed the deal, blocking every escape route before gift-wrapping him for the countryside. He realizes he's been delivered directly to his tiny cousin, who was eagerly awaiting her new victim. Jua officially declares him her new underling, with his grandmother seemingly in on the whole scheme. Refusing to accept his fate, Tae-ho makes a desperate leap over the wall to escape. He grits his teeth in utter disbelief, unable to process the absurdity of his situation. Tae-ho sprints barefoot for the main gate, horrified by the thought of a summer without internet. He grabs the gate's rope handle, fully prepared to run all the way back to the city. But his escape is abruptly halted, leaving him winded and confused. A rope tightens around his chest, yanking him backward with immense force. A stern-faced woman in a suit appears, informing him his escape attempt is over. This is Ryu Seol-hwa, Jua's personal bodyguard, and Tae-ho's new, much scarier supervisor. Tied up on the ground, Tae-ho can only stare in utter confusion at his captors. Seol-hwa begins to explain the legendary past of his aunt, Jang Tae-ho. Before marriage, his aunt was a feared figure who single-handedly dominated hundreds of rivals. Even the most powerful gang boss in the city, Min-do-ho, bowed down before her might. He was so intimidated that he even offered to give her his own leadership position. Together, they turned the White Tiger Gang into an untouchable force that ruled Jobok City. Back in the present, Tae-ho struggles to process this unbelievable family history. He finally connects the dots, realizing his sweet aunt was a gangster, and this city was her turf. Seol-hwa corrects him, stating his aunt has been retired for 7 years, but Tae-ho explodes in anger. He furiously accuses her of acting like a gangster now by kidnapping and threatening him. Jua coolly dismisses his outburst, while Tae-ho's rage boils over at the little girl's audacity. Seol-hwa immediately draws a blade to his neck, issuing a stern warning about disrespecting her young charge. Tae-ho freezes in absolute terror, the cold steel against his skin silencing his protests. Jua calmly intervenes, ordering her bodyguard to stand down and show some leniency to the newcomer. Seol-hwa obediently sheathes her weapon, acknowledging her young master's command. The bodyguard then smugly informs Tae-ho he should be thankful for the little girl's mercy. Overwhelmed by the sheer insanity of it all, Tae-ho's spirit completely breaks, wishing he was anywhere else. Jua snaps him out of his stupor, ordering him to prepare for their first task together. With a sinister grin, she announces they're going on a collection run to assert her authority on her mother's territory. Tae-ho stares blankly, his bandaged face a perfect picture of utter resignation to his new bizarre life. Tae-ho grumbles about having to follow the little girl, only for Seol-hwa to correct him. He must call her boss. She spots her first targets, a group of elderly men enjoying a quiet game in the market. The little girl boldly steps forward, interrupting their game and demanding their attention. She struts towards them with purpose, questioning their right to relax on her mother's territory. With an outstretched hand, she confidently demands they pay their protection fee. Tae-ho watches in disbelief, internally calling her a brat for trying to extort elderly men. He smirks, anticipating her failure, but one of the men suddenly recognizes her. Their stern expressions melt away as they shower her with compliments, fawning over the daughter of the legendary Mi-ae. Tae-ho is left completely speechless, his brain short-circuiting at this unexpected turn of events. The successful shakedown ends with Jua happily clutching snacks and a fistful of cash. Jua proudly counts her earnings, ready for the next shakedown, while Tae-ho questions the reality of this collection. The little girl continues her tour, charming the local shopkeepers with a mix of sweetness and intimidation. She successfully gathers a surprising amount of cash and treats from the seemingly willing locals. Her collection grows into a mountain of gifts, drinks, and other assorted goodies from the community. Tae-ho watches in disbelief as Seol-hwa claims this is proof of trust, but he just thinks they're being scammed. He starts to wonder if his aunt's gangster past involved bullying these same people into submission. Seol-hwa interrupts his thoughts, revealing his assumption about his aunt is completely wrong. She explains that his aunt, Yang Mie, was actually the town's sole protector from the very beginning. The locals aren't being extorted. They're showing their gratitude to the daughter of the woman who saved them. Tae-ho suddenly recalls a wild family story about an axe, realizing the unbelievable tale might actually be true. A local shopkeeper approaches, asking if Tae-ho is Jua's older brother. He awkwardly clarifies he's her cousin, earning praise for his supposed dedication. The shopkeeper suddenly offers him a generous cash gift, leaving Tae-ho stunned. He verbally refuses, but his hand betrays his true desire for the money. Before he can grab the bill, a mysterious hand intercepts it midair. A new girl appears out of nowhere, snatching the cash right from under his nose. She scolds him for skimming off the top, declaring the money officially confiscated. Tae-ho's face contorts in fury, unable to believe the audacity of these kids. His protest is silenced by the cold press of Seol-hwa's gun against his temple. With his hands raised in surrender, he's ordered to stop complaining and carry their loot. He trembles with suppressed rage, forced to watch his tiny cousin and bodyguard walk off with the goods. Overwhelmed with despair, he silently screams his hatred for his parents to the sky. Far away, his older brother smirks, getting a strange sense of satisfaction from Tae-ho's suffering. Completely drained from the day's ordeal, his face is a mask of pure exhaustion and defeat. He pulls out his phone to check the time, his expression one of pure annoyance. His eyes widen as he sees a notification for a limited-time login event for his favorite game. The realization hits him that he's stuck in the countryside with no way to access the game event. But his despair turns to surprise as he spots a sign for a PC bang right in front of him. The girl who confiscated his money earlier suddenly calls out to Jua with a stern look. Desperate for some gaming time, he immediately starts pandering to his cousin, cheerfully calling her boss. He puts on a convincing smile, asking for a quick bathroom break as a clever ruse. The girl reluctantly agrees, and he immediately bolts, promising a swift return. Seol-hwa expresses concern, but the other girl is certain he won't risk a real escape. Tae-ho sprints away with a triumphant laugh, believing he's successfully duped his captors. He charges down the stairs into the PC bang, eager to finally get his gaming fix. With a victorious roar, he celebrates his newfound freedom and the promise of online battles. But his celebration is cut short by a grim scene of 3 intimidating men standing over a fallen victim. Tae-ho's triumphant expression instantly vanishes, replaced by utter shock and confusion. A closer look reveals the man on the floor is badly injured, hinting at a serious altercation. A cold sweat breaks out on his face as he realizes he's just walked into a massive, dangerous mess. He freezes on the stairs, his gaming plans instantly forgotten as he takes in the grim scene. His mind races with panic, wondering if he's just stumbled upon a dead body instead of a computer. One of the blood-splattered men turns to him with a cold, questioning glare. Tae-ho stammers an excuse, claiming he was just looking for the PC bang. The man calmly explains the place is now their private warehouse, implying he's trespassing. Forcing a nervous smile, he realizes getting involved with these men would be a fatal mistake. He tries to laugh off the intrusion, quickly announcing his departure to escape the tense situation. His escape is cut short as a bloodied hand clamps down firmly on his shoulder. An imposing man with an eye patch stops him dead in his tracks, his expression menacing. Tae-ho's face drains of color as the man informs him he's now a witness who can't be allowed to leave. The eye patch-wearing man tries to guilt-trip Tae-ho into helping them with their dirty work. His bloody hand tightens its grip, forcefully pulling Tae-ho deeper into the mess. Tae-ho panics, desperately trying to pull away from the dangerous situation. His escape is cut short as a foot stomps down, pinning him to the ground. He's thrown forward, landing hard on the concrete floor at the man's mercy. His eyes widen in sheer terror as he comes face to face with the unconscious victim. The man grabs him by the hair, mockingly pointing out his uncontrollable trembling. A pair of pink rubber gloves are tossed in front of him, presented as a tool for the job. With a sinister grin, the man orders him to clean up all the incriminating stains. The other thugs agree it's a perfect solution, leaving the horrified Tae-ho to deal with the aftermath. The thugs casually debate how to deal with their victim without attracting unwanted attention. Their leader coldly suggests burying the man, callously blaming him for his own fate. Tae-ho stares at the unconscious man, terrified that one wrong move will land him in the same position. He desperately tries to calm his racing thoughts, fighting back a wave of pure panic. The grim reality sets in. Helping them would permanently ruin his already chaotic life. He understands their true motive is to make him an accomplice, ensuring his silence forever. Tae-ho realizes calling the police is a non-option, as any sudden movement would be fatal. A sudden idea sparks in his mind as his eyes lock onto the only source of light. He grips his phone, forming a desperate plan to smash it and create a diversion in the darkness. As one of the men turns away, Tae-ho prepares to risk it all on his one chance to live. The thug offers him wet wipes, completely oblivious to Tae-ho's simmering plan. Tae-ho decides this is his moment, planting his foot to spring into action. He lunges for the light, phone raised high, ready to plunge the room into darkness. But his plan is interrupted as an old man with a bandaged eye bursts onto the scene. The newcomer unleashes a torrent of rage, screaming at the stunned thugs. Tae-ho freezes mid-action, utterly bewildered by this unexpected and chaotic arrival. He hurls a phone at them, furiously questioning why they're still messing around. The old man's fury intensifies as he continues to berate his underlings for their failure. In a moment of pure irony, the phone he threw falls and smacks him directly in the face. He stumbles back from the self-inflicted blow, leaving everyone completely speechless at the absurdity. The old man collapses to the floor, knocked out cold by his own ricocheting phone. One of the thugs rushes to the fallen leader in a panic, revealing their familial connection. Tae-ho is completely baffled, trying to understand why a gangster would call their boss father. Seeing his chance amidst the chaos, he decides this is the perfect moment to slip away unnoticed. But his escape is cut short as a bloody hand suddenly clamps down on his ankle. He freezes in terror, his face contorting in a silent scream of disbelief. The supposedly unconscious victim glares up at him, very much awake and furious. The man on the floor menacingly questions Tae-ho's intentions towards his father. A desperate scream rips through the air, signaling an abrupt shift in the scene. Tae-ho jolts awake with a gasp as cold water is thrown on his face, revealing the entire ordeal was just a nightmare. He sputters back to reality, with Seol-hwa casually confirming he's fine, while Jua glares impatiently. The other girl, Miju, grabs him, furiously scolding him for trying to sneak away. Still disoriented, he touches her face, questioning if he's dead or just trapped in a bizarre dream. His existential crisis is cut short by a swift, powerful punch right to the jaw. He collapses to the floor, stunned by the girl's surprising strength as she scolds him for talking nonsense. Jua turns her attention to a group of men in the background, ordering them to apologize to the now conscious Tae-ho. The thugs from his nightmare bow in perfect sync, shouting a terrified apology to the young master. Tae-ho stares in utter confusion, while Miju questions why these men are even present. Jua calmly explains that the intimidating men are actually her mother's loyal subordinates. She points to one of the men, demanding a full explanation, and he nervously agrees to her command. The man explains they were simply following orders from their boss to help move some belongings. He clarifies they were transporting jars of raspberry syrup into a warehouse for an elderly man. The whole mess started when one of them slipped on a piece of paper and took a nasty fall. A jar of the red syrup then came crashing down on his head, shattering on impact. This unfortunate accident knocked him out cold, creating the grim scene Tae-ho stumbled upon. The thugs now bow deeply, apologizing for their aggressive behavior towards Jua's cousin. Tae-ho connects the dots, realizing the gruesome scene was just a misunderstanding involving spilled syrup. His relief is cut short as he suddenly remembers the old man who got hit by a phone in the chaos. The very same old man appears, revealing he's not a gangster boss but Tae-ho's own grandfather. His grandfather unleashes his fury, smacking Tae-ho for disrespectfully hitting him with a phone. Tae-ho desperately tries to explain himself, but his grandfather sentences him to farm work as punishment. Miju then asks to accompany them, framing it as her duty to supervise her new underling. The grandfather's anger instantly vanishes as he joyfully lifts Jua, praising his thoughtful granddaughter. Tae-ho can only stare in disbelief at the blatant favoritism on display. His hand clenches into a fist, his frustration with his grandfather boiling over. He comically weeps, realizing he never received that kind of affection, even as a child. His pity party is interrupted as a small envelope is suddenly presented to him. Jua offers him the envelope, calling it a payment for his troubles. She explains that despite his slacking, he still gets a cut for helping with the collection. Tae-ho is taken aback, realizing she might be more considerate than he first thought. He stares in disbelief at a check for a staggering 1 million won. Instantly won over, he bows deeply, pledging his eternal loyalty to his tiny new boss. Jua smirks, pleased that his rebellious attitude was so easily bought. Back in the present, he recalls how that cash prize was followed by the harsh reality that escape was impossible. Resigned to his fate, he had been quietly pulling weeds, accepting his punishment. His quiet moment is shattered as Miju comes barreling towards him on an out-of-control lawnmower. Her face is a mask of pure terror as she desperately screams a warning for him to move. Tae-ho whips around in panic, his own warning dying on his lips as the machine closes in. The lawnmower crashes in a cloud of dust and debris, sending everything flying. Miju is launched into the air, realizing just how badly this has gone. Tae-ho screams, realizing his countryside life is becoming more absurd with each passing moment. He's sent tumbling to the ground, his floral pants flying as he takes the full force of the crash. Lying defeated, he worries that his cousin's chaotic energy is genuinely going to be the end of someone. Miju isn't spared either, as she's also thrown from the machine in the spectacular crash. The scene comically depicts both Tae-ho and Jua knocked out, with him serving as an unwilling crash pad. Snapping back to his senses, he grabs Miju and furiously scolds her for her dangerous stunt with the weed cutter. She brushes off his anger, insisting the machine suddenly went haywire on its own. Seol-hwa rushes to the scene in a panic, only for Miju to calmly explain that Tae-ho broke their fall. He grumpily rejects Seol-hwa's thanks, claiming he had no intention of being a hero. The group's bickering is cut short as their grandfather arrives, demanding to know the cause of the ruckus. Jua bows apologetically, blaming the entire chaotic incident on the faulty weed cutter. Her grandfather dismisses the broken machine, his only concern being his granddaughter's safety. Tae-ho seizes the opportunity to complain about the heat, begging for a less strenuous punishment. His grandfather scoffs at his weakness, pointing out his impressive appetite doesn't match his stamina. Deciding a change of pace is needed, he orders the trio to clean up and follow him to a new location. He assigns them a simpler task, harvesting ripe vegetables for their grandmother to cook for dinner. Before leaving to fix the machine, he puts Miju in charge, who eagerly accepts her new supervisory role. Jua's attention is immediately captured by a large, glistening red tomato on the vine. She carefully prepares to harvest it, seeking guidance from Seol-hwa on the proper technique. With her first successful pick, she proudly shows off the tomato, receiving enthusiastic praise from her bodyguard. Jua rallies Tae-ho for their important mission, but he's clearly not buying into her enthusiasm. He questions her sudden politeness towards their grandfather, contrasting it with her earlier bossy behavior. She proudly explains her family's power structure, placing herself just below her parents and grandfather. Tae-ho awkwardly accepts her strange logic, silently judging his bizarre family dynamics. While harvesting vegetables, he admits that being in the countryside is surprisingly peaceful after so long. His moment of peace is ruined by the memory of his tiny cousin constantly ordering him around. He recalls a major fight with his relatives from 4 years ago, a clear source of past trouble. This makes him wonder why his strict grandfather hasn't brought up the incident to scold him. Deciding not to question his good fortune, he puts the vegetables in the basket, content to avoid a lecture. He glances aside, desperately hoping the rest of his punishment will pass without any more drama. His peaceful moment is shattered by a friendly-looking spider on an eggplant vine. A sudden, terrified scream echoes through the garden, startling Jua and Miju. Tae-ho completely loses his composure, pointing and yelling about the tiny arachnid. Jua looks on with utter disdain, unimpressed by his childish overreaction. With a flick of her finger, she casually sends the offending spider flying off the plant. She smugly presents her hand, questioning if he's satisfied now that the threat is gone. As she turns away in annoyance, Tae-ho spots something far more menacing crawling on her back. His face twists in genuine horror as he screams her name, desperately trying to warn her. He lunges forward and smacks her back, alerting her to the massive centipede he just eliminated. Miju lets out a heavy sigh of relief, clearly shaken by the close call. Seol-hwa cheerfully presents the mangled centipede, much to Tae-ho's absolute horror. Miju catches her breath, admitting she was nearly scared to death by the sudden appearance of the giant bug. Jua, completely unfazed, simply thanks Seol-hwa for her quick and efficient pest control. Tae-ho stares at Miju in disbelief, shocked that she could grab the massive insect with her bare hands. Miju casually explains she's a local and has been used to bugs her whole life, much to his surprise. With the crisis averted, Jua orders them back to work, while Tae-ho silently prays Miju will handle all future bug encounters. Back at the house, their grandfather returns to find his wife alone and immediately asks where Tae-ho is. The grandmother calmly explains the weed cutter broke, so she came back to find the tools to fix it. He scoffs at her worry, dismissing his grandson as a city boy who should be able to handle himself. Despite his tough words, a flicker of concern crosses his face as he hopes the simple task isn't too much for Tae-ho. His grandmother looks on in confusion, unsure what her husband is talking about. A sudden worrying thought crosses the grandfather's mind about a nearby wasp nest. He desperately hopes the kids haven't accidentally provoked a dangerous swarm. Meanwhile, Tae-ho stretches victoriously, celebrating the end of their vegetable-picking ordeal. Jua tries to carry the heavy basket herself, but Tae-ho warns her she's going to fall. He silently scoffs, completely baffled by their enthusiasm for a bunch of vegetables. Overheating, Tae-ho decides to cool off at a nearby stream before heading back. Jua's curiosity is piqued, and she eagerly declares she's going too with Seol-hwa in tow. Tae-ho leads the way, comically fanning his pants as he complains about the sweltering weather. He rushes ahead with the basket, eager to reach the cool water of the stream. His desperate sprint for water comes to a sudden jarring halt. Jua looks on in confusion, wondering why he abruptly stopped in his tracks. Tae-ho's eyes widen in sheer horror as he stares down at the ground. Seol-hwa watches from a distance, completely unaware of the impending danger. Her confusion turns to concern as she tries to figure out the cause of his sudden panic. He instinctively grabs both girls, his face twisting in a desperate attempt to warn them. A wave of pure terror washes over him as he realizes the fatal mistake he's just made. He stepped directly on a massive wasp nest, unleashing a furious swarm upon them. With no time to think, he scoops up both girls and bolts, trying to outrun the angry insects. Seol-hwa glances back, her expression shifting to alarm as she notices something wrong with his wrist. Seol-hwa draws 2 daggers, her expression deadly serious as she prepares to defend her charge. Tae-ho frantically yells at Jua, trying to get her to safety from the impending swarm. The bodyguard vows to eliminate anything that could possibly harm her young master. The furious swarm of wasps descends upon them with deadly intent. In a flash of steel, Seol-hwa unleashes a whirlwind of slashes, decimating the entire swarm. She stands amidst the carnage, her hand bleeding from the sheer speed of her counterattack. With a cold glare, she declares that not a single threat will be tolerated on her watch. Jua casually reveals that her bodyguard is a master of blades, capable of slicing through anything. Tae-ho breaks into a cold sweat, finally understanding the terrifying extent of Seol-hwa's skills. He awkwardly suggests they head back, still carrying his cousin while the bodyguard leads the way. Tae-ho looks back, only to see yet another swarm of insects buzzing ominously. A new woman appears, watching in disbelief as Tae-ho flees from a second angry swarm. She grits her teeth in frustration, clearly annoyed by the escalating chaos. Her annoyance is interrupted by an elderly woman who politely asks for directions. The woman tries to brush her off with a fake smile, claiming she's in too much of a hurry to help. The old woman's face falls in clear disappointment at the polite rejection. She sadly accepts the refusal, her hand dropping in a gesture of defeat. The old woman begins a dramatic monologue about the dangers of being lost as night falls. She continues her tale of woe, fearing she'll die alone and join her late husband in the afterlife. Her guilt trip works perfectly, as the woman is visibly overwhelmed by her conscience. He panics, realizing his stamina is fading and the swarm is gaining on them. A memory of an expert's advice flashes in his mind: go underwater to escape bees. With a new plan, he changes direction and makes a desperate dash for the nearby stream. He leaps into the water without warning, catching his tiny cousin completely off guard. Holding her close, he urgently asks if she can hold her breath for 30 seconds. On the count of 3, he pulls them both beneath the surface, hoping for a clean escape. They hold their breath, confident the wasps will give up and fly away. Submerged near a wooden bridge, they wait for the danger to pass. His plan shatters as he realizes the wasps are still buzzing menacingly above the water. He surfaces with a look of utter defeat, understanding this is only a temporary and flawed solution. He panics underwater, realizing their time is running out fast. Seol-hwa suddenly leaps over the water, daggers drawn to intercept the swarm. Underwater, the pair are surrounded by the flashes of her rapid strikes. The bodyguard erupts from the stream, single-handedly carrying both of them to safety. Back on land, Seol-hwa turns to face Tae-ho with a look of pure fury. She issues a stern warning, forbidding him from ever endangering her young master again. Elsewhere, the woman from earlier reluctantly carries the old lady through the water, having been guilt-tripped into helping. Tae-ho checks on his cousin, who admits she swallowed some water during the chaotic escape. Their relief is shattered as a lone wasp buzzes menacingly right next to Jua's face. Both Tae-ho and Seolhwa's faces twist in fury, realizing one single threat managed to slip past them. Tae-ho grits his teeth, his face a mask of pure concentration as the wasp hovers dangerously close. Without hesitation, he clenches his fist, catching Jua completely by surprise. She looks up at him, confused by his sudden intense action in the fading light. He lets out a pained cry, revealing he just crushed the insect with his bare hand to protect her. Tae-ho presents his messy hand, prompting his cousin to recoil in disgust at the sight. Despite her reaction, a shaken Jua clings to him tightly, trembling from the close call. Their moment is interrupted as Seolhwa reminds them of their forgotten vegetable basket. They realize too late that their hard-earned harvest is now a feast for a group of wild animals. Enraged by the loss of their vegetables, Tae-ho lunges at the freeloading deer. He comically chases the animals away, his frantic yelling echoing as his cousin and bodyguard watch unimpressed. Tae-ho stares at his injured hand, realizing their entire vegetable harvest has been devoured. Jua sits dejectedly on the ground, utterly disappointed by the loss of their hard work. He offers a sincere apology, admitting his panic during the wasp attack caused him to drop the basket. His cousin surprisingly forgives him, calmly stating it was an accident and they can always get more. Seolhwa reveals she's only letting it slide because he bravely protected Jua from the wasp. Tae-ho is left speechless, completely caught off guard by the sudden compliment. But his forgiveness comes with a condition. As a small boot steps forward with purpose, Jua looks up at him with a grin, demanding he carry her on his back for the entire walk home. Now serving as a human horse, he trudges along while his cousin enjoys the view from his shoulders. Seolhwa leans in to tell him this is a sign of affection, as Jua has clearly taken a liking to him. She clarifies he's only just begun his training and has a long way to go to earn her approval. He grumbles about his new role, only to get his ear pulled by his tiny boss as they walk home. Later, Seolhwa reports to her own boss, confirming the cousins are getting along despite their bickering. The man on the phone, revealed to be Tae-ho's older brother, asks for a specific update on his background. He reveals Tae-ho has a disciplinary record from middle school, possibly related to fighting. Seolhwa processes this new information, concluding her new charge is a potential delinquent, but his brother dismisses her concerns, insisting the two cousins stay together for the entire break. He then gives Seolhwa a chilling order: neutralize Tae-ho if he steps out of line. The call ends, leaving his brother to contemplate his next move from afar. He glances at photos of Tae-ho and Jua, hinting at a much deeper plan at play. He reflects on how a past incident seemingly changed his once cheerful younger brother forever.